Dr. Steve Pieczenik, and this is Steve Talks. Hello, I'm Dr. Steve Pieczenik, and today I want to talk about two separate issues. One is Brexit, which is historical, and the second one is the failing American presence in the Middle East. The first issue involves the practical consideration of what we call devolution of power. 10, 12 years ago, I wrote in one of my Op Center books that the EU would be dissolving because France and Germany could not work it out. And what happened was the EU was created in 57 and then 84, and then the Maastricht Agreement as a way of trying to co-opt, a way that France tried to co-opt Germany's rise to power. That didn't work. Germany has always defeated France over 100 years, the two major wars and the Franco-Prussian wars as well. So what in fact happened is England broke away because England had its own printing press. Prime Minister Theresa May realized that as a result of the referendum, the English did not want to have immigrants coming into their country, and they wanted to have control over their own budget. As a result, Theresa May on March 29th made a historical event. She pulled what we called Article 50. She pulled it and said that from now on we will enter into negotiations with the EU in order for England to exit both constructively and effectively. In order to do that, England has to pay back $65 billion in due pensions and future expenses that it owed the EU. Secondly, Scotland will have to determine on a referendum whether it wants to be back in the EU or it wants to go with England. Thirdly, Ireland, which has been an issue, and particularly Northern Ireland, has to decide whether it wants to unify with Ireland or continue to be under British law. From my perspective, the EU is finished. From the American perspective, I feel that the American dollar will increase in value. It'll have a premium of 20 to 40% above the euro, and will be the constant currency around the world, which will dominate the yuan, the yen, the ruble, and any other currency, thanks to the Bretton Woods conferences in 1944. The second issue is a far more serious issue for me and for we Americans. And that's my great concern, that we have gone into too many wars for too long and without any results. In this particular case under Trump, the reason I supported Trump and I wanted the generals in the various positions was exactly to do the opposite of what's happening now. I wanted those generals to stop our wars because they had understanding that we had no strategy and no tactic under the Obama administration, the Bush administration, and the Clinton administration. However, what I found is that our generals really went in reverse. They decided that they would put increased number of troops in Syria, in Libya, in Yemen, in Iraq, and as a result of that, they have failed this specific mission from my point of view and the point of view of other Vietnam veterans who feel that this is an impending disaster. Why? Because for the most part, the wars have no outcome and no political direction. In simple terms, there is no strategy for what we are doing in Yemen, Iraq, Syria. In fact, intensification of firepower is not a strategy. That is a tactic. And it's costing us billions and billions of dollars to deploy our troops into these various areas. Secondly, we're going to have the same phenomenon that we had in Vietnam. We're going to have an increased body count of American soldiers who've been on the front line and who have died as a result of a strategy that didn't exist. For the most part, the devolution of power in Iraq is very simple. Iraq is a creation of Gertrude Bell of MI6 and Winston Churchill. It's an amalgamation of three different sects: the Kurds, the Shiites and the Sunnis. There is nothing in the world that we can do from 15 to 20 years to integrate that three separate divisions into a country. It does not exist as a country. Similarly, Libya does not exist as a country. Thanks to Panetta and DCI Petraeus and Hillary Clinton, we made another faux pas in Libya. It's a total disaster, having taken out Gaddafi. There, we have to make sure that we can amalgamate the tribes, deal with them individually, and particularly the Tuaregs, and then cease and desist all fire powers. The third part in Yemen is even more serious. Yemen is a product of the British Empire. It has always had a tribal conflict between the Shiites and the Sunnis. Today, we are supporting the very countries that in fact have created ISIS. What do I mean? Saudi Arabia, Dubai, UAE, Israel, we're all part of this amalgam that created the nonsensical group called Al-Qaeda and ISIS. We are in fact fighting our own creation, and we're spending too much money and too much time. Let me put it simply. Any fool can create a war, but not any fool can stop a war. Or as Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin says, it takes 20 seconds to create a war and 20 years to undo that war. Thank you for listening, and God bless. Dr. Pieczenik. Hi, this is Dr. Steve Pieczenik, and this is Steve Talks.